All right, so I'm going to start on MATLAB since they're starting with graphs on this. So y'all, they just want us to graph the function and pick one of these four. I'm going to zoom them in just a little bit here. All right, so I'm just going to go to my calculator and graph this real quick. 4 minus x squared. So y'all, I'm going to go to y equals, put in 4 minus x squared, and then I'm going to hit graph. So notice the upside down parabola crossing the y-axis at about 4 there. So we just want to go pick the picture that matches that. And so y'all, that looks like D here. So A is too low, B is the wrong shape. C looks like it went to the right a little bit. So pick D on that one. And then we move to the second. Hey, y'all, let me write this one down and we'll work this one out by hand. So they're giving us the formula f of c equals 9/5 c plus 32. So the formula to find the Fahrenheit temperature given the Celsius temperature. So they want us to figure out what Fahrenheit temperature equals a Celsius temperature of negative 15 degrees Celsius. Hey, also, this is basically just functions. Since they're telling me to find a temperature equal to a negative 15 C, I put in negative 15 for my C. So we're finding F of a negative 15. All right, y'all, so that gives us 9/5 times negative 15 plus 32. And y'all, at this point, I'm just going to go plug that in my calculator. So get off the graphing. So I got 9/5. So I'm just going to go 9 divided by 5. That's getting multiplied by a negative 15. And then plus 32. I also got my equation in. I'm going to hit enter. And we get 5 degrees. So we would go to MATLAB, 5 degrees. They got A. Hey, also, that's the trick on that. And just plug that negative 15 in for the C there, okay? All right, y'all, let me make this a little bigger. They want to determine if this is a function. Well, you're going to run a vertical line down through that. Vertical line, up and down. If the vertical line can intersect that graph more than once, it's not a function. Well, y'all, no matter where I run these vertical lines coming down through here, it'll intersect the top and the bottom of that graph. So since it intersects the graph more than once, this is not a function. So y'all, if y'all's graph is sideways like mine, you got to put no on that, okay? All right, y'all, so this one wants us to solve. So I'm going to solve this on my calculator using my matrix, okay? So y'all, let me write this down. This is number 4. X plus y plus z equals 7. X minus y plus 2z equals 7. And then 5x plus y plus z equals 11. All All right, y'all. So on this one, I'm going to use the matrix on the calculator. So this thing has 3 rows. So this will be a 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Now remember, on the matrix, you tell it what size it is, and then you put in all the numbers that are coefficients. So 1x, 1y, 1z equals 7. 1x minus 1y plus 2z equals 7. And then finally, 5, 1y, 1z equals 11. So on the matrix, I'm going to put all this in the matrix when I go to edit it, okay? So y'all, let's go do this on the calculator. I just want to clear everything out. So to get the matrix, you hit second, x negative 1, arrow right to edit, and hit enter. Now mine's already got a 3 and a 4 there. So all I got to do is put in all my numbers. So I had a 1, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, and a 7, enter. Second row, I had a 1, enter, negative 1, enter, 2, enter, 7, enter. And then my third row, I had 5, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, and then 11, enter. Once you've entered all your numbers in, you're going to quit the screen by hitting second mode. But y'all, now the matrix is in the calculator. So you remember my next step, I go to second, x negative 1 to get back in the matrix. I arrow right to math. And then we're going to arrow down until we find RREF. So notice there's a REF and a RREF. We want the RREF. You hit enter. It's going to bring that to the main screen. Now we got to go get the matrix. So we hit second, x negative 1 again. And notice my matrix A is my 3 by 4 matrix. So I just hit enter on A. That brings the matrix to the screen. And y'all, we hit enter. And when I hit enter, the right column will be the answers with my X, my Y, and my Z. And y'all, my right column, X is 1, Y is 2, Z is 3. I mean, Z is 4, my bad. So 1, 2, and 4. So y'all, let's go find the answer blank on that. And y'all, they got to be in the order we had. So we had 1, 2, 4. So we got to go with B on that one, okay? Now, y'all, I can guarantee you, D will not be an answer for anybody. If you put D on this question, you will miss it. It will have a solution, okay? All right, y'all, so let me make this one bigger. We can do this one right here. The domain is the X's. So on the left dot, I need to go straight up to the x-axis and see what that x value is. So the dot on the left, if I go straight up to the x-axis, that's a -2. And then the domain goes through all the x's until I get to the x value of that last point. Well, that last point, if you come straight down, has an x value of 4. So this goes from -2 to a +4. So y'all, that looks like A. Just remember, The domain is the X values, okay? All right, y'all, then we hit next. All right, so this number 6, I'll probably do by hand real quick. But y'all, let me show you something. You see that's a greater than? It does not have an equals under it. So when it's greater than, the line has to be dotted. So my only two possible answers for this problem would be A and D, because B and C got solid lines. So it's got to be one of the two with the dotted line. And I'll tell you another trick. Since that's greater than, it's going to be shaded above the line. So the only one that is dotted and shaded above the line is going to be A there. But y'all, let's work it and see. All right, so let me draw something over here for my X and Y. All right, let me see what kind of values I get before I start messing with this, okay? So I'm going to solve this for the Y. So your first move, you're going to move the X's to the other side by subtracting those. So those cancel, you got your 5Y greater than. So you can't add them together. So I'm just going to put my negative 6X minus my 5. Now, we need to divide everybody by 5. So 5 divided by 5 gives you 1Y greater than. I did not reverse that because I didn't divide by a negative, okay? So that just gives me negative 6/5 X minus 5 divided by 5 is 1. All righty. I'm going to go graph it. Well, actually, I can just do this one by hand. How about that? But if you want to graph it, just go to y equals and throw that in there, and then you'll see how your line is, okay? So I'm going to use a 0. If I put a 0 in for x, 0 times negative 6/5 is 0. And 0 minus 1 gives me a negative 1. All right, y'all, then my second number, um, since I got a fraction here, I'm going to make my second number a 5. So let me show you why I'm doing that. So if I put a 5 in for the x's, these 5s will divide out, make it a 1. So this is basically negative 6 times 1, which is negative 6, minus that 1, which will give you a negative 7. All right, y'all. So let me go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. I need to go a little further with these because I had a negative 7 there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so 0, negative 1 will be 0 down 1. And then I had 5, negative 7. So right to 5 and then down to my negative 7. All right, so I plotted the 2 points. It's greater than without a line under it, so that's going to be dashed. And then it's greater than, so that's going to shade above the line. So all this up here will be shaded. And y'all think that's the one we sort of picked out on our answers here. We said A, right? So look at that. A is dashed and shaded above. So if the y is positive, it'll look like this. The only time you got to worry is if your y's are negative. But you know, I'm pretty sure all the y's on here were positive. So you can just look at it. Greater than's above the line and no equals, so it's dashed, okay? Now y'all, we'll show you on the calculator if y'all forgot on that. On the calculator, go to y equals. I'm gonna clear everything out. So you have to put it in where you solved it. So I had negative 6 divided by 5 times x minus 1. Now remember to shade your arrow all the way left and hit enter. Enter until you get the triangle that's bigger above like I got on mine. Okay? So then when I hit graph, it'll shade it. Now, y'all, the only thing the graphs don't do is make the dashed lines and the solid line. So you still got to remember, if it's greater than without the equals under it, that's got to be dashed, okay? All right, y'all, so we went with A, then we go to next. All right, y'all, so the ladder resting against the wall. So let me make me a wall here and a ladder. So it says it touches the top of the wall at a height of 6 feet. Then they want me to find the length of the ladder. If the length of the ladder is 2 feet more than its distance from the wall. So it's 2 feet more than its distance from the wall. All right, y'all, so I'm gonna work this one by hand. So here's my ladder resting up against the wall at a height of 6 feet. Now, they want you to realize this makes a triangle. And this ladder is 2 feet more than its distance here from the wall. So I'm going to make this distance x, and this will be x plus 2. Now realize they want me to find the length of the ladder, not the distance from the wall. Okay? And they don't give you both answers, they just give you the length of the ladder, okay? So, right triangle, which means we're going to use our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared will equal C squared. Now, C has to be the longest side. So this has to be your C. And then make this one A and that one B. All right, y'all, you're going to plug in everything for your numbers in here now for the letters, okay? So A is X. So that'll give you X squared. B is 6. So that'll give you 6 squared. That's going to equal C, which is x plus 2 squared. All right, so you can't do nothing with the x squared yet. But 6 squared is 36. And y'all, that'll equal this right side. So on the side, you actually got to FOIL out x plus 2 squared. So that'll be x plus 2 times x plus 2. So FOILing that, I get x squared plus 2x plus another 2x, and then plus 4. Adding like terms, you get x squared plus 4x plus 4. All right, so I'm gonna put that on the right side. X squared plus 4x plus 4. So y'all, what happens on this one now? You need to get all the x squareds on one side. But when we move this x squared and subtract it from both sides, it cancels there and it cancels there. So when you're working this, your x squared stuff is basically going to cancel. So that you get a 36 equal to a 4x plus 4. So y'all, at that point, since these x squareds canceled out, it's no longer quadratic. So all we got to do is solve this for the x. So to solve it for the x, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So that gives me 32 equal to 4x. And y'all, my last step, divide both sides by 4. So 32 divided by 4 gives me 8. 4 divided by 4 makes that a 1x. All right, y'all. The distance from the wall is 8 because that's what my x is. The ladder is going to be the 8 plus 2, which gives me 10. So you got to go back, add the number to that x to get that ladder, okay? And y'all watch out, they got an 8 for my answer. So they think you're going to stop just getting the x and you get 8. If you pick that, you're wrong. You got to get the 10 on that one, okay? And y'all, what's next? A domain. All right, y'all, so let me write this one down. F of x equals x minus 4 over x squared plus 7x. All right, I'm going to do this one by hand, and let's see. They want it in interval notation, okay? And y'all, the main thing you got to realize on this, when you're dealing with fractions, the domain's going to start at negative infinity on one side, and it's going to end at positive infinity. We got to figure out what goes in between by kicking out numbers that make this undefined. So the domain, we only concerned with the denominator. And we solve it by setting it equal to 0. So when you got something like this, x squared plus 7x, x squared plus 5x, it don't matter. If you got an x squared term and an x term, the way you solve those is by factoring out one of these x's. So if you factor out an x, that leaves you an x plus 7. And then you're going to set it all equal to 0. And y'all is going to be really close to mine other than that number there, okay? That'll be the only difference. All right, at this point, you set both of these equal to 0. So since y'all are going to have to factor out an x, that means one of y'all's answers will be 0, just like mine, okay? Now, depending on your number, will give you your second answer. So that gives me an x equals, those cancel, -7. So y'all should get a 0 like me and then some other number, okay? So interval notation, you start at negative infinity. Let's see, the first number we hit is -7. So we're going to union around -7. From -7, you're cruising until you hit 0. So you're going to union around 0. And then y'all, there's nothing else to kick out. So from 0, my domain heads towards positive infinity. So look here, you got an x squared term here. You got to have two unions, okay? All right, y'all, so let's see which one has that answer. So I got -7 and 0. So that looks like B for me. Looks like on D, they did the top. Remember, that top, it can be 0 all day long. We're only concerned with that denominator, okay? All right, y'all, what's this one? Oh, the difference quotient, okay? So let me write down my f of x. My f of x is 2x squared plus 5x. And y'all, we give you the formula, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. All right, so we got to fill this in and come up with one of these four answers, okay? All right, you got the f of x part. That's this right here. What we got to find is the f of x plus h. So we take this function and put an x plus h in for both of these x's. So you got 2 times x plus h squared plus 5 times x plus h. So y'all, the first thing I'm going to do is FOIL that right there. So bring down that 2. On the side, I won't FOIL this all out. We had these written down at one time. But anytime you get an x plus h squared, that's going to give you an x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. So when you got that, you're going to replace it with this. So this becomes x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. Then I'm going to bring down my plus 5 times x plus h. Now I didn't FOIL this one because it don't have an exponent, okay? So the only thing I did on that first step was FOIL that out and replace it with this. Next, you're going to distribute the 2 through the first parentheses. So that'll give you 2x squared. 2 times 2 makes that a positive 4hx plus 2 times h squared. Now, right here, you're going to distribute that positive 5 through those parentheses. So you get a positive 5x plus 5 times h is a positive 5h. Now, at this point, I would look for like terms, but y'all, none of those are like terms. So we're going to put this now in for the f of x plus h. So putting that in, you get 2x squared plus 4hx plus 2h squared plus 5x plus 5h minus f of x, which is 2x squared plus 5x. And y'all, that's all over h. Now, both of these will cancel with their counterparts over here. 2x squared is negative. It cancels with a 2x squared. And this is a negative 5x. It cancels with the 5x. So the second parenthesis always cancels out, okay? So you got three things left that got an h. You got a 4hx plus 2h squared plus 5h. All those are over that h. So now the last step is to take all three of these and divide them all by the h in the bottom. So the first term, the 4hx over h, those h's cancel. All that's left is the 4x plus 2. Right here you had an h squared, which is an h times the h. So one of those h's cancels with the h on the bottom, leaving one h. Plus, well, right here you had one h over one h. Those cancel, leaving me a 5. Y'all, nothing else we can do to that. So final answer. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you this. Um, no matter what they give you in place of the 2x squared and in place of the 5x, it's going to be the same pattern as mine. And I had what, a 4x, 2h plus 5. Okay. It'll never be B because they don't have the it's still got an x squared in it. And it'll never be C really. So you just got to figure out if you got the style like A or D, okay? All right, y'all. So we picked A, we move on. All right, this is graphing, so I'm just going to graph this on the calculator real quick. Now, y'all listen. This is a square root. Answer B is a straight line. We're not picking a straight line at all on this, okay? So if you pick B, you're wrong. It's got to be A, C, or D, okay? So let's go graph that and see what we got. So this is what? G of x equals a square root 9x minus 7. All right, y'all, so going to the calculator. Going to go to y equals and clear this all out. All right, so square root, you hit second x squared. And then you put in your 9x minus 7. All right, y'all, so I've got my function in. I'm going to hit graph. All right, so look, it moved right a little bit. Okay. And if you want to look at the table, see what's happening? I'm getting error messages at -1 and 0 and all these negative numbers. Because remember, you can't take square roots of negative numbers, okay? So we got to pick the one that starts at 1 like this did. So y'all, here we go. So I'm going to zoom A in. A looks like it went right like I needed. C, if you zoom it in, C went left a little bit. And our D here, D went left and turned around. So the only one that matches what we just graphed would be A. All right, y'all, so this wants me to, and they got the answers over here, but this one has a relative minimum, the dot on the top of the little mountain on the left side, and it's got a relative minimum, the dot on the right side. I think I said minimum. So the one on the left is a relative maximum. It's on top of the mountain, and the one on the right is the relative minimum. So y'all, the relative maximum has a value of 1, and that happens at the x equals 0. Since it's on the y-axis, that's the 0 for the x's. So I got a maximum of 1 at x equals 0. So let's see. A and B are the two that's got that right so far. They both say relative maximum of 1 at x equals 0. So now we got to go over here and look at the dot on the right for the minimum. That's got a minimum value of -3 for the y value at x equals 2. Well, B said there was no relative minimum, so y'all, it's got to be A, and it says the relative minimum is -3 at x equals 2. So just remember on these, the maximum and minimum values are the y values, and then they happen at the x values, okay? And y'all, that was a trick on that one. Just realize you got 2, so you got B and D are gone anyway because they only say there's a max or a min either one, but not both, okay? All right, let's see. So we're starting with the square root of x. So that negative in the front, and then what's that +3 doing? Well, the +3 is under the little radical, so you treat it like it's in parentheses. So just either going to go left or right. Since it's being added, it's going to go left. So C and D both go left. And then the negative in the front only reflects you across the x-axis. Okay? You have to make the exponent negative to reflect across the y-axis, okay? So y'all on your number 12, it's only going to reflect over the x-axis. So it's got to be A, B, or D. And if yours is plus, it's going to go left. So y'all, the one that went left 3 units and reflected across the x for me would be D. Okay? So answer C will be wrong no matter what number they put on it, okay? Uh-oh, y'all, we got to find the zeros. All right, so let me write this down. F of x equals x squared minus 7x plus 1. Well, y'all, this one, if you look at them answers, the only way you're doing this one is with the quadratic formula. So x equals -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. All right, a, b, and c are these numbers. A is 1, because that's 1x squared. B is -7. C is the 1. So y'all, you just start plugging everything in. So x will equal negative times b, which is -7, plus or minus square root -7 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. So A and C are both 1. All over 2 times A. So that'll be 2 times 1. Right, so now just start simplifying. 2 negatives make that a +7. Plus or minus square root. So -7 times -7 is a +49. And y'all, all this end is getting multiplied. So -4 times 1 is -4. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Right, so bring down to 7. Plus or minus 49 minus 4 gives me a square root of 45. over 2. So y'all, here's the trick on this one. You got to simplify this radical if it contains one of these numbers, remember? And so on. These are perfect squares. If any of these numbers are factors of this 45, you got to break them out. Well, y'all, nine's a factor of 45. So I'll make this a square root of 9 times a square root of 5. Okay? So, why did we pick 9? Because 9 has a square root. The square root of 9 is 3, and then bring down my square root of 5. So replace the square root of 45 with this. I get 7 plus or minus 3 square root of 5 all over 2. And y'all, since the 7 and 3 won't divide by the 2, that's going to be your final answer. So we need to see if that answer is one of their 4 choices. You know, that'd be C right there. 7 plus or minus 3 square root of 5 over 2. Now, the only way you can get B and D type answers with that I is if you ended up with a negative under that radical when you simplified everything, okay? Hang on, so let's trick on that and using that quadratic formula. All right, let me see. Find the vertex. And let me get my function. My function is f of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 7. All right, so I'm going to work that in by hand. So the vertex formula was negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. So we find the x value, plug it in, and get the y value, okay? So y'all, we get the x value by doing the negative b over 2a. So let's get our numbers. A is 1, b is negative 2, and c would be the 7. So you get your numbers same way you did on the quad formula, okay? All right, y'all, so we got a negative times my b, which is negative 2, over 2 times my a, which is 1. So y'all, that's going to make that a positive 2 over 2, which gives me a 1. We know the x value is a 1 no matter what. Now watch this, y'all. Let's see. Let me go to the answers. All right, so the only possible answer I can get is A on this. But let's go back and let's see that we get a y value of 6, okay? So to find my y value, I find f of 1. That'll equal 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 7. That's going to be 1 minus 2 plus 7. And y'all, if you add them up, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 7 is a 6. So you can go on and verify it out if you want to. But y'all, once I had that 1, and the only answer that had a 1 was A, bam, there's where I went, okay? All right, y'all, we'll be finding zeros here. So I got f of x equals negative 5x squared times x minus 6 times x plus 1 to the third. So you got three factors, you're going to have three zeros. So it looks like A is gone because it's only showing two zeros. B is gone because it's showing four zeros. So we've only got the variable three times, so we're only going to get three zeros, okay? So let's go get them zeros. Now remember, the exponents are my multiplicities. Since the x minus 6 don't have an exponent, it's a 1. So parentheses that don't have exponents, it's automatically a 1, okay? All righty. So what I do is I'm going to set negative 5x equal to 0. X minus 6 equal to 0. And then x plus 1 equal to 0. Solve all three of these to get the zeros, and then those will be their multiplicities, okay? So y'all, the first one, you're going to divide by negative 5. That cancels, and you get x equals 0. So 0 is a 0, multiplicity 2. The second one, that's being subtracted, so you're going to add 6. You get x equals 6. It came from this factor. It has a multiplicity 1. And then the last factor, subtract 1 from both sides. You get x equals negative 1. It came from this factor, so it has a multiplicity of 3. So 0 multiplicity 2, 6 multiplicity 1, negative 1 multiplicity 3. So y'all, let's go find that and see I had three zeros. So it's either going to be C or D. So let's see. They got negative 1, 3. That's what I had. 0, 2 I had. And then 6, multiplicity 1. So we would go with C. All right, y'all, moving on. All right, y'all, I'm going to graph this one, but I want y'all to notice, look at these graphs. If we want the picture to look just like theirs, all these graphs, I'm going to set the window from negative 6 to 6, and then the y values are going from negative 240 to 240, okay? So let me write my function down. So negative x times x plus 2 squared times x minus 1 squared. All righty, so I'm going to set the window for this one. So y'all going to clear everything else out. All right, so I had a negative x times x plus 2 squared times parentheses x minus 1 close parentheses and square. Now to set the window, the button that says window, click it. And we said those went from negative 6 to positive 6 for my x's. And then go down to the y minimum. They went from negative 240 to a positive 240. Now after we graph it, I'll show you how to set the window back, okay? All right, y'all, so I'm going to hit graph now. So I should get one of them 4 pictures. So look, my graph comes down, and then it heads down that right side. So let's look. Y'all, so let me zoom these two in. It's hard to tell on mine. So it looks like it's a little above on the left side on this one. And y'all, let me see what's happening to this D. All right, let me make that out bigger. All right, so that's sort of a little on the left, a little bit below on the right. I'm gonna pull out this C now. And it's a little above on the left, little below on the right. So let's go back to our graph and see which side is it above the ground a little bit. So y'all, I might have to zoom this in just a little bit more. So I'm gonna go down here to zoom in and hit enter on that. So if you notice, the left side is where mine's a little bit above, okay? Woo, that's, woo. Okay, don't like that one. So the left side, so I would go C on that one, y'all. Um, the reason it's doing that is because my numbers were so small. So really zoom them out if you want to. And notice that's the only difference between C and D, um, was what was happening where the hump was, okay? Woo, okay. Oh, y'all, look, it's break time. So let me stop my share for a second. I'm gonna pause this. All right, so 17, find the vertical asymptotes. So y'all, let me write this down. X minus 8 over x squared plus 2x. All right, so vertical asymptotes occur where the graph is undefined. So you find them the same way you find your domain, basically. You're going to set the bottom of the fraction and only the bottom, set it equal to 0. Y'all look at this. I got another one. I got an x squared term and an x term. So remember, to factor that, you factor out an x, and then that's going to leave me an x plus 2. So factor out an x, and then x squared divided by x left me an x. 2x divided by the x left me a 2. And then basically set both these equal to 0. So y'all, the first one equals 0. The second one, we would subtract 2 from both sides and get x equals a negative 2. So my vertical asymptotes will be x equals 0 and x equals negative 2. All right, so we would go find that on the answer. What do we say? 0 and negative 2. So we would go with D. All right, y'all, let me write this one down. F of x equals negative 6x plus 5. G of x equals negative 3x squared plus 5x plus 3. We're going to find F compose G of 3. All right, so let me go work that one out. So remember, this is the same as F of G of 3. So first we find G of 3. Once we find G of 3, we'll put that answer into the F. All right, so we always start with the G of 3 on this one. So put a 3 in for those two x's. You got negative 3 times 3 squared plus 5 times 3 plus 3. All right, I'll just knock this out by hand real quick. So I'm going to do the exponent first. So 3 squared gives me 9. I'm just bringing everything down. So I did my exponent first. Now I'm going to multiply. Negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. Plus 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 3. All right, negative 27 and 15 is a negative 12. Negative 12 plus 3 is a negative 9. So G of 3 equals negative 9. So now we find F of that negative 9. So we take the 9 we got, negative 9 we got here, and plug it in for this X. So negative 6 times negative 9 plus 5. All right, so negative 6 times negative 9 is a positive 54 plus 5, which gives us 59. So y'all, we would go back, find a 59, which is D. So the good thing, it's multiple choice. So you can go through and work it, and then hopefully your answer's on them, okay? All right, y'all, so let me go and write this one down. So f of x equals 4x squared plus 2x plus 7. G of x equals 2x minus 6. They want me to find G compose f of x. All righty, so let's work this one. So this one is like a G of f of x. They're not giving us a number to put in this time. So what that means is we take this f of x and we put it into the G. So you're going to take this f of x here and put it in to the x's on the G, okay? So that means G compose f of x. So we're putting f into G. So that's going to give me 2 times my x. Well, y'all, the x is going to be the 4x squared plus 2x plus 7. So we put in our x, and then we minus 6. So the way you do this one, you're going to distribute the 2 through the parentheses. 2 times 4 is 8x squared. 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times 7 is 14. And then minus the 6. And y'all look, the only like terms I got are the numbers. So I got 8x squared plus 4x. And let's see, 14 minus 6 is what, a positive 8. All right, so you would go look for that answer. 8x squared, 4x, and an 8. So I would go with C. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, so f of x equals a 5x to the third minus 7. If you mark D on this one, not 1-to-1, you will miss it. They're all 1-to-1, okay? And y'all, you're basically going to have the same thing. The only thing they're going to change might be the 5 and 7, okay? But it will be an x cubed like mine. So to find the inverse, you start by replacing the f of x with a y. So remember, turn f of x into a y. Then you're going to switch the x and the y. So you don't change the exponent, just the letters. So this becomes x equals 5y to the third minus 7. So I switch the x and the y. Now solve for the y. So your first move, you're going to add 7. So y'all, you're going to get an x plus 7 over here. Those 7's cancel, so all that's left is the 5y to the third. Next, we're going to divide both sides by 5. So y'all can't do nothing over here for the moment. But over here, the 5's cancel, making that a 1. So I got 1y cubed. All right, so let me move that up here. So now to turn the y cubed into a y, we take a cube root of both sides. Cube root of x plus 7 over 5 equals the cube root of y to the third. Y'all, this radical will now cancel with that exponent, leaving a y. We cannot do nothing to this, so that's going to stay a cube root x plus 7 over 5. Now, officially, the last step would be to turn the y into the inverse notation. F -1 of x. And then put my answer, cube root of x plus 7 over 5. So this is what we're looking for now. So cube root of x plus 7 over 5. Looks like we're going with A. All right, also this one I'm going to graph. And I'm just going to set it back to a 10 by 10 on this one. So this is what 4x to the third. I mean 4x plus 3. Okay, let me write that down. All right, so I'm going to go graph this. Now, y'all, the first thing we'll do is set my window back to a -10 and 10. And then go down here and change that y minimum to a -10 and 10. All right, so I got my window back. So now go to y equals. I'm going to clear that out. And I had 4 exponent x. And y'all arrow right and come back down and then put in a plus 3. We all remember that plus 3 is basically just going to move that graph up 3 units. And there it goes. It went up 3 units, going uphill, left to right. So on the 4 answers, A is going downhill, B is going uphill. So let me zoom that one out. And that looks exactly like it. So I'm going to go with B. C went down and D went down in the wrong direction. So the only one would be B on that one. All right, y'all convert to logarithmic. We got e to the 6 equals 403.1779. All right, so this was sort of the newest stuff we've been doing in the fourth test. So they want us to write it from exponential and put it in logarithmic. Okay, so you're going to write log. The base of the log is the base of the exponential, which is the e. The result from the log is the result from the exponential, which is 403.1779. That's going to equal the exponent, which is the exponent of the exponential, which is 6. Now, the only thing MATLAB does is they put the 6 first, and then to equal log base E of the 403.1779. Okay. So y'all's going to be really similar to this. So let's go find that one. So 6 equals the log base E of 403. So that would be C. Okay. Pick that answer. Choose next. All right, y'all. So log B of a square root x3 y squared over z7. All right, so two answers. Let's see. Well, one answer we can definitely throw out would be C because they got multiplying there and dividing. Well, it says we're writing them as sums and differences, not products and quotients. So C is no way you can pick C, okay? So let's see which answer we get. All right, so y'all, the first thing you got to do is get rid of this square root radical. So what you do, you're going to put x3 y squared z7 in parentheses. And to change this radical into a fraction, it becomes a 1/2. So remember, radicals can be written as fractional exponents. Now your next step is to multiply all the exponents inside the parentheses by 1/2. So y'all get a log B. 3 times 1/2 gives me x to the 3 halves. On the y, 2 times 1/2 is 1, basically. On the bottom, z, 7 times 1/2 is 7 halves. Now, y'all, the y has the exponent of 1, so I don't have to write it on my next step, okay? Now, here's the thing. I'm going to start writing them as sums and differences. If they're on top, they're positive. On bottom, they're subtracted. Distribute the log b to all three. So log b of x to the 3 halves plus log b of y. So both these factors on top are positive, and then it's minus the log b of the bottom factor, which is z to the 7 halves. And y'all, we're pretty close at this point. The only other thing we got to do is bring the two exponents into the front of their terms. So you're going to get a 3 halves log b of x plus the log b of y minus the 7 halves log b of z. All right, y'all. So notice we're now written as sums and differences. We got our exponents all brought down, so we're looking for that answer in MATLAB. All right, so 3 halves log b of x. So they all got 3 halves log b of x, but this one's got minus log b of y. We had plus log b of y, so it's got to be a, and then there's my negative half, 7 halves log b of z. So y'all's got to be a on that one, okay? Oh, y'all, this one they're giving you the formula. So let me write this formula down. B equals 9,000 e to the negative 0.04 t. So it's a landfill. Now, since that's a negative 0.04, this is one of those where it's going to decay or get less. It's decreasing, okay, since it's a landfill. So they want to know how many acres will be left after 3 years, and we're rounding to the nearest acre. So y'all, I'm just going to punch that on my calculator. So I'm going to quit this screen, clear that out. So I'm going to put in 9,000. I'm going to use the second ln and use that because it'll give me the exponent, which is a negative 0.04 times my t, which was 3 years. Okay? Now, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm rounding to the nearest acre, so that looks like 7982. Because that's a 0.2 after it, so since that's less than 5, I'm going to leave that at 82, okay? So 7982. So y'all, that looks like D. Now y'all, it can't be B because B, if you got a negative exponent, it's going to be less. It cannot be more, okay? So it's got to be less than 9,000, which the other three answers were. So just punch that in and you get D, okay? And I think this last one's an equation. All right, so solve the equation. 4 to the 12 minus 2x equals 256. All righty, so the way I work mine, y'all are going to have to work y'all's that way too. So the trick on this is to rewrite the right side as this number being multiplied, okay? So I'm going to rewrite 256. So let's see, 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, times 4 is 256. So since it takes 4 fours, I'm going to rewrite this as 4 to the 4th power. So y'all, the left side, 4 times 12 minus 2x equals this side, which is now 4 to the 4th power. So we redid that because these bases match. So y'all, since these bases match, that means these exponents have to be equal. So 12 minus 2x equals this exponent of a 4. All right, so we just got to solve this now. So here we go. Subtract 12 from both sides. That's going to cancel, giving me negative 2x. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. And y'all, final step, divide by that negative 2. All that cancels, giving me 1x. Negative by negative makes that a positive 4. So let's go find 4 on that answer blank. And we go with A. And y'all, that's the trick on this. Remember, it started out doing a little graphing, and then it ends with those logarithmics. So y'all, this test is 25 questions long, multiple choice, just like your study guide's going to be, okay? Now y'all remember, everything in this class is due Thursday at midnight. So that's tomorrow night at midnight, okay? Now, y'all hang on just a second. Let me get some names here. All righty. Do y'all have any questions?
I'm good.
All righty, y'all. So remember, what's tomorrow? August 1st at midnight. Math lab shuts down, okay? So some of y'all still got test 4 to do and that final exam. So y'all knock them out. I would do at least one of them today and then one tomorrow if you got to, okay? Try to catch up any old homework because that'll help your grades also. And once y'all do test 4, get ready for your final, okay? Now y'all, let me see. I had a chat. All right, so y'all are good. All right, so y'all, it's now or never. Now get everything caught up and done. If you need me, email me and I'll respond back. Okay.
Okay.
Y'all, good luck on that final. And if y'all need me to log on tomorrow, email me and I'll log on at 10 if y'all need me. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. And I'll send this out. Give me about